Welcome back to San Diego People. I'm Lauren Phinney. In the aftermath of tragic events like the Parkland, Florida shooting, children often have questions that are important but difficult to answer. I'm joined now by Ashley Virtue, the Director of External Relations for the National Conflict Resolution Center. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think this is a really important aspect of the conversation we're having this morning. But for people who don't know about the National Conflict Resolution Center, tell us quickly who you are.
Sure. Well, if you can't tell from our name, our business is conflict resolution. So we really believe that conflict is inevitable. It will happen in our lives. But when people are equipped with the proper tools, they're really able to manage conflict effectively. And that spans beyond just dealing with, trepidatious conflicts, but really healthy communication tools for everyday situations.
And communication is so important in every aspect of what we're seeing happening in our country. But when it comes to that parent-child relationship, it is really important that we lead our children. So how do we approach that conversation with our children, and at what age, and what do we say at certain ages?
Absolutely. This is such an important question that parents are grappling right now, especially since this most recent shooting at Parkland. I think one of the things that we're seeing is that there are younger children who are aware of this incident more so than have been in the past. Probably because it's been more on the national news, probably because of the school walkouts, and there were some younger schools that participated. So parents are grappling with, how do I have these conversations with my kids of all ages at this point? So we actually have a few tips for parents. One of them is to approach your children directly about it. Be direct, but be non-emotional. Control your emotions around your kids and really allow them to be the ones to guide the conversation.
Yeah, but you want to be the one to bring it up, right?
You do.
Yeah,
you want to be the one to bring up the conversation. You know, a lot of kids right now feel a lack of control. They feel like this scary thing could happen, and like we just heard with Hannah, who was on before, there's all of these children who walk into their classrooms every day wondering, could I be next? And there's a lack of control that comes with that. And so at home, provide an environment where you're communicating openly, and you as a parent are in control and having this healthy conversation with your child.
And so really it's important to let them do most of the talking and address any questions they might have.
Yes. So asking open-ended questions is one of the basic communication tools that we talk about at National Conflict Resolution Center all the time, but it's particularly important with kids because I think we all know, we've all experienced the teenager who's famous for their one-liner answers.
I'm fine. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. How was your day? Fine. Are you talking about this? Yes. So ask them open-ended questions. Sit at the dinner table, sit around, a cup of tea and say, how is this being approached at school? What are your teachers talking about with you? How do you feel about this? What do you want to do, if anything, about the situation? Engage them. As a parent, that's going to get you so insight into what's going on in their heads and in their hearts around the situation.
And you also say to have your children involved in making a safety plan, a family safety plan. So what should that plan involve?
Well, so this kind of goes back to really empowering your kids through this idea of being solutions focused. And while it's so important for them to have that opportunity to express how they're feeling about the situation, it's also really important to focus their energy on something positive, and that's future oriented. So talking with them about their participation in whether it's a walkout or a march, or talking with them about just the family safety plan, letting them know that if something like this were to ever happen, I love you and here's what we would do, and what do you think about that? Be involved with me and tell me your thoughts about it.
In the day that we were covering the student walkout, we had reporters at several different schools as this was going on, and you could actually see within the crowd the ranging maturity levels of the students who were or were not taking part in it. And it made me think you really have to address this as a parent per child, how each child is handling this, their maturity level, even if they seem as though this is having no effect on them, right?
Absolutely. Know your kids, check in with your kids. I think there's some parents out there that are a little bit afraid that if they talk about this too much, it might create more fear with their children.
Right.
But the thing is, be proactive, talk with them about it. The other thing is exemplify good behavior. You're completely right. there are kids with all different levels of maturity, and for a lot of kids, this may be the very first time in their lives that they've had to have a discourse with someone with different views than they have. And this is an opportunity, this is a teachable moment for these young kids to teach them how, from this point forward in their lives, they can just someone in a respectful way, but they also can get their point across in a way that it could be heard. And as parents, we need to exemplify that. If we're not doing that with the other people that we disagree with, how will our kids know to do that?
Such an important point in all of this. We talked a little bit with Summer Steffen, the district attorney, about these sort of restorative practices in dealing with some of the juveniles who are being charged in making school threats. And I know that your group is a partner with the district attorney's office. Tell us how those restorative practices work.
Right. So we do. We have the opportunity to partner with the San Diego Unified School District and the district attorney's office. And for some cases, those are referred to us for restorative practices, which means that it's an opportunity for the youth offender. So in this case, the youth who may have made a threat or something that was perceived as a threat, to meet with community members, school members, and the people harmed, and really make amends for what they did. And in return for going through that process, often the charges are dropped for them. So this happens after the case has been investigated. And as you heard from the district attorney, some of those cases are prosecuted. These are the ones that are not, for whatever reason. And there's varying reasons that they might not choose to prosecute a case. But the important part about this is it gives these students who honestly probably made an immature mistake in doing something that maybe they said in jest but had a real consequence, the opportunity to make the situation right. And in a lot of ways, it's actually much more difficult for them than going through the legal system, because for a lot of these students, what they have to do is the more mature thing, is apologize to their peers in the student body, maybe to the parents, to their school community, and then really take actions to improve the situation moving forward. So they're very, very accountable for what they've done, but it gets them off of that pipeline to the prison system, where if they're just thrown in jail and maybe they're a 16-year-old kid that made a bad choice, but they're arrested or they have to go through that, they might not be the right person to have to get into that system either. So hopefully it's a really empowering and good opportunity for them to get on the right track.
Absolutely. And we have less than a minute left, but I want to talk about an event that took place yesterday, March for Our Lives. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So, the March for Our Lives movement has taken place all around the country, and there are a lot of individuals who participated, individuals here in San Diego as well. And going back a little bit to, the conversation around families, I know there were a lot of families who chose to participate together. I do think it's a teachable moment. Parents, if you took your kids to this march, you probably saw some really great behavior, and you may have seen some behavior that wasn't that civil. Talk with them about it, engage them in that, and make this something your family will always remember, hopefully in a positive way.
Ashley Virtue from the National Conflict Resolution Center, thank you so much for being here and sharing some really great tips.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That'll do it for this morning's edition of San Diego People. Join us tonight for the KUSI News at 6, 10, and 11. We'll see you then.